Why can't I get up on time? Why am I so late for stream? Why are the morning streams at a reasonable time and yet I still can't make it on time? What is wrong with me? It's 10:48. Hi, everyone. I promise I went to bed on time. So I have this thing where I have a very powerful. I can really only put it like this. I have a very powerful sleep instinct. So like when I fall asleep, I'm a very heavy sleeper, I think is the term. But what that means is I like waking up is really hard, like really, really, really hard. And it means that getting up is often me getting up to turn off the alarm and then falling asleep again, but like powerfully, like to the extent that I'll miss it by like 2 hours sometimes. And it's been something that I've worked on for years, and still have not been able to kick it yet. And I think most of it is related to the time zone that I live in, because I end up being... What I want to do is, I'm like, I want to be in bed before like 1 o'clock, or I want to be in bed by midnight. And that's a good goal, and I actually succeed in that quite, like, fairly frequently. But the problem is, if you want to be in bed and trying to sleep by that time, you've got to be winding down before that time. And I'm not winding down before that time because of the time zone I live in. Everyone that I want to interact with at a certain time is active, because that's a reasonable time for them. And I'm like, cool. I get, I'm like, fuck me, I guess. So unfortunately, that's what I'm like at the moment. I think the way that I kick it is probably to just, you know, stop hanging out with my friends. You know, like, stop hanging out when everyone else is active and just live a life where I don't have any friends to interact with except on stream times. And that's not a life I want to live, and yet here I am still oversleeping things. Yeah. Thing is, I don't feel good about waking up late either. I don't like waking up late. It's not a nice feeling for me. When I wake up late, I'm like, it doesn't feel very good. I mean, I feel maybe a little bit well rested because I, you know, got enough sleep, but at least I know I'm getting enough sleep. At least there's that. Hello, everyone. For now, though, no matter how you're engaging with this content, I'm glad that you're here. Hope you feel welcome. Make sure you have a drink in your hand and give me your mental health out of 10, your physical health out of 10. I'd love to know how you're doing, and if you're watching the VOD, if you're lurking, if you're active, it doesn't matter. I love that you're here. We're gonna do some reading today. I only really have one thing to read, but then on an emergency thing, I was given other things to read. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah, we're gonna find out first. I'm gonna ask Taters if I'm gonna follow up with Taters' question and ask if Alpherg has finished his character yet. For 24 hours from now. Just letting you know. It's only 48 minutes, it's fine. 10:48, it's really close, Taters. What does that mean? I have a very powerful sleep instinct. Yeah, it's like Ultra Instinct from Dragon Ball, but instead it's sleep instinct. I have sleep instinct, where I'm the most powerful sleeper. I have slept through like storms, thunderstorms above my house. I've slept through the house alarm going off. I've slept through telephones. I do not remember any of it. Waking is so hard. That's why I sleep on my drive to work. Road hazard? Commit to nightlife. No, I don't want to do that. I don't like, become a worker of the night. I don't like staying up all hours of the night. It's not fun for me. I don't like it. Mental Christopher Nolan out of 10. Cool. Physical cat on my lap out of 10. Oh, that's good. That sounds good. I meant his reading stream homework. Oh, he had reading stream homework. Okay, okay. No, not the fisheye. Yeah, this is a webcam, so if I go real close, it will be like a fisheye. Look at how fucking big it makes my nose. Hang on. There you go, look. I'm just all nose. I've slept through light construction across the road from me once or twice with my window wide open. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I was okay-ish, but now I'm nursing a migraine, hoping meds kick in soon. I hope so too, buddy. Alright. So, I'm doing okay. No, not a fish nose, thank you. I've just woken up. I'm happy to do some reading. This might be a shorter stream because what we're reading today is not all that long, I think. It's actually like a couple of it's like a couple of pages, which to be fair is most that is most of the things that we read. Today we are reading something very interesting. It's our first non-fiction. How cool is that? Alex has been writing a paper about the evolution of Star Wars music in the 21st century. And I think nonfiction is very interesting. I read one of the books that I was reading recently is a nonfiction book. It was very, very good. It was like a biography. And I think it's very important for information. I have read many nonfiction books, mostly regarding political theory. And I encourage you to do the same. If you would like to elevate your understanding of how the world works, I encourage you to read lots of theory, and I encourage you to read lots of nonfiction books, because there are some really, really educated people that have written lots of cool things about it. Waking up for work during a storm pisses me off, not because I got to drive in a storm, but because I was getting the best sleep. Yeah, sleep in a storm is, so good. Meds better work, because the seas aren't going to sail themselves. What a surprise. With this, I want to change the format and writing style, because it's kind of informal and there's not much visual interest to it, but that's a problem for literally any other time. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. Alex, before we talk about this, let me get in here. I'm gonna do this. Oh, look at that. It's perfect. I formatted the stream exactly for this. So, Alex, when you wrote this, or as you're writing this, as I read this, what kind of feedback are you looking for? What sort of... I know that you didn't submit it specifically for feedback, but if I were to read it and give feedback, what are you looking for me to tell you? What do you want me to specifically hit so that you can work on it? And what are you trying to work on? I would love some guidance into how I'm going to read this. Some of us take the pirate life seriously. You dare imply the adventures of Holt and his merry band of lovers isn't real? Listen, it's real in your heart. That doesn't mean it's not fiction. Of course it's real, Harry. Well, of course it's in your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's any less real? I hate quoting her, but it's a good line. It's an inarguably good line. Yeah, the feathered lizard man is non-fiction. Yeah, see, the Birdman. The Birdman is non-fiction. For me, Holt has always been like a Red Sparrow kind of thing. Well, if it's in my heart and my heart is real, then it's real. Yeah. It's like in your left ventricle. He just kind of sits there. Ew, HP refrigerator. Is that a meme that I'm not understanding? Is that... Oh, reference. Okay. So... Sorry, that was very weird. Birds are reptiles, so alright. Well, yeah. I mean, they're not, but sure. They're definitely not. They have a common ancestor, but sure. I just enjoy making you tweak. I think readability, understandability, and format are the main things. Okay, readability, understandability, and format. Google it. Oh, birds, reptiles. Okay. Are birds reptiles? Birds are reptiles. Yes, birds are reptiles. Though not reptiles by definition, the group Aves is unambiguously contained inside the class Reptilia, therefore making them reptiles. Reptiles is not a valid group in cladistics because it includes animals that all have a common ancestor, so it doesn't include all descendants. Yet, as a higher form of classification, birds are reptiles. What's really crazy about that, though, is that they are warm-blooded, which completely ruins the taxonomy of reptiles. That's very interesting. Something I was told in my school, that reptiles were cold-blooded by definition. And yet here we are, seeing that they can be warm-blooded too. Is very weird. That's very, very weird. Well, I have learned something new. I will continue to call Holt Birdman until I find another sufficiently triggering phrase that I can use instead. Okay, let's get fucking started. Also, descriptors. Describing what Williams is doing, at least in this section, well enough for the average reader to understand. Okay, cool. Maybe the real reptiles are the friends we made along the way. You know what? I'll take it. Here we go. We're about to start. Let's get going with the evolution of Star Wars music in the 21st century by Alex Rooney, innit? Sorry. This year, I've been listening to a lot of Star Wars music, and it's got me thinking a lot about the evolution of Star Wars music, especially within the last 25 years. Within the last decade, especially, Star Wars music has been in a constant state of evolution, with a plethora of incredible composers having the opportunity to put their stamp on Star Wars. So I will be going through and talking about the different stages of evolution of the sound of Star Wars, from the Phantom Menace all the way through to Skeleton Crew. Ah yes, a series that hasn't come out yet, and yet I will be talking about it. I hope we don't get to that. Like, I hope you're not assuming that the music is going to be like a certain way. I assume this is a plan for the future. Okay, remember we're looking at readability, understandability, and format. So, I'm going to start nitpicking some things then. First, when you say Star Wars music the first time, when you say it so quickly the second time, it's a little bit jarring. So, unless you actually make an illusion that you already acknowledge that you've mentioned it once already. So just say it. Or its evolution. Especially within the last 25 years. And I would put a comma here as well. Then, within the last decade especially, comma, Star Wars music has been in a concentrated evolution, no need for a capital here, with a plethora of incredible composers having the opportunity to put their stamp on Star Wars. So, I will be going through and talking about the different stages. Okay. So, from an introduction, it perfectly shows what you want to do. Like, in this essay, I will. That's a perfect way to describe it. You know, there's no one format. Depending on what you want, this sounds like you're speaking to me, not like you're writing to me. And there's a subtle difference between the two. It's in the use of language, and it's totally fine. It's a decision. So it's not like it's wrong or right. I'm just letting you know my vibes. The vibes is basically it sounds like you are either typing a Discord message to me, or you are like speaking to me about it, which is what I'm getting. So it depends on like what you're talking about is if you are trying to get across a more casual vibe to this paper, if you're trying to get a more casual vibe to the thesis, then that is pretty well achieved here. This feels very casual. Okay. Also, very quickly around reptiles, it's pretty much just the avian branch that's warm-blooded. Okay, interesting. I think it's important to remember that we teach students basic definitions of things, and they can learn deeper, harder to understand information when they're older. Correct. Very good. Okay, so here we go. The original trilogy. But first, we have to establish our baseline for what we're evolving from. So I'm going to briefly touch on the original trilogy. The sound of these movies is Star Wars. Without these movies and the incredible score by John Williams, you'd have nothing to really compare the rest to. I would put a semicolon here. It means that everything after that is going to explain your first statement. That's what a semicolon means. It's a wonderful addition, and I would include it as well. Also saying but first after like a big heading thing is not usually done, but I think it works if you're trying to keep with that casual vibe. Okay. The very first film, A New Hope, gives us what is essentially the vast majority of the motifs and or themes we'd be hearing throughout the rest of the main 9 Skywalker Saga films, with one notable exception. What is the notable exception? Am I going to learn about it, or are you going to mention it later? I think if you say that there's one notable exception, I think you should say mentioned later, or we'll talk about that later, in brackets after that. Also, you talked about readability. Not everyone knows what a motif is, so maybe get into some definition about that. As well as establishing the baseline orchestration for the saga, being that of the standard Western orchestra, consisting of strings, brass, woodwinds, tuned percussion, and non-tuned percussion. An ensemble... Wait, hold on. As well as establishing the baseline orchestration for the saga, being that of the standard Western orchestra, consisting of strings... Okay. This sentence is a half sentence. I think you need to... instead of saying as well as, you should say... you should say it also establishes the baseline orchestration. Yeah. Otherwise, this is a half sentence. An ensemble which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time... an ensemble which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time, with only 1 or 2 instances of him breaking away from it that I know of. Okay, cool. Also a half sentence. Make sure that you make your sentences complete. They must have a beginning, middle, and end. An ensemble which Williams sticks to. You basically, this is like a heading, an ensemble that he sticks to. But like, what is the ensemble? So you can say at the beginning, it is an ensemble which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time. That kind of thing. All right. The orchestration for A New Hope and the majority of the original trilogy has a heavy focus on brass, with lots of big themes, melodies, motifs, and figures all played in the brass predominantly. Nice. The strings are most often used as accompaniment for the brass during action sequences, or as the lead section alongside the woodwinds in the more intimate and or romantic moments. Cool. Nice. Yeah, I mean I agree with this as well. I think you're accurate in that it does have a heavy focus on brass. Again, I think you should go into what a motif is before you like refer to it all the time. The Imperial March does not appear in any way until the Empire Strikes Back, which is, ooh, that's interesting. I thought it did. Wow, Mandela effect. That's so cool. Which is something I don't think most people would ever notice. Hi, I'm most people. But the Imperial March first plays over a shot of a Star Destroyer about 10 minutes into Empire Strikes Back. Cool. If you're looking for a piece of academic writing, you must maintain consistency of your thingy. So if you're going to say The Empire Strikes Back here, and then you're going to say Empire Strikes Back here, that's not consistent. Academic writing has to be consistent not just with where you put your capital letters, but also how you name things and your naming conventions. They must be consistent as well. This is important because this is the one place where a comma would not belong. This is important because this is the first instance of evolution within the sound of Star Wars. Full stop. Finish the sentence. Then next sentence. In A New Hope, Darth Vader and the Empire more broadly are represented by low, ominous brass, and it wasn't until Empire that that a full-fledged hyphenated theme was created to represent the Empire. Okay. Cool. This is a very interesting topic. I love this. This is very cool. Emperor Palpatine's theme, which first appears in The Return of the Jedi. I don't think there's a "the" in the title of the film, but it's fine. Like I said, you asked for this, so that's why I'm going into the full details. All right, I'm not. If you think it's too much, then I'll pull back. But as far as I know, you did ask for it. As far as I can tell, the first use of choir and/or vocals within Star Wars, giving us this ominous low vocal theme, which was unlike anything else heard in Star Wars to this point, and really cemented the Emperor as a force to be reckoned with, even if you didn't realize why. Cool. I like this little thing as well. Return of the Jedi also features what is, as far as I can tell, the first use of a synthesizer in Star Wars. I want to clean this up. The Return of the Jedi also features what is unnecessary. So Return of the Jedi also features, delete that and then use hyphens or commas. As far as I can tell, comma, the first use of a synthesizer. In what is a seemingly bizarre moment for one to be used, after Luke has killed the Rancor, spelling, and the trainer comes in and sees the body in a low... Ooh. Okay, run-on sentences, let me see. And sees the body a low synth drone plays, never to be heard again outside of a deleted scene in which the synth does basically the exact same thing. This is a really cool point as well. I love that you've noticed these things. This is a really nice thing to point out. Okay, so I would end it here. Return of the Jedi also features, as far as I can tell, the first use of a synthesizer in Star Wars in what is seemingly a bizarre moment for one to be used. Bleh. Full stop. After Luke has killed the Rancor and the trainer comes in and sees the body, comma, a low synth drone plays, never to be heard again outside of a deleted scene, blah, 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 blah. That's it. So I would put a full stop right there. Awesome. All right, so the original trilogy, the stuff that you've talked about is really cool. I like it a lot. Listen, I'm not going to talk about, like, what context you should have in it. I don't want to talk about, like, I don't want to talk about what kind of content you should talk about more, like, musically, because that's your bag. Like, that's what you want to do. So whatever you want to talk about, you can. But regarding readability, I'll tell you this. It reads like a casual speech, for sure. It reads like you're just chatting to us, which is nice. I like the vibe. I really do. When it comes to beginner stuff, I think as a beginner, I would probably be able to understand this as, like, fully if I knew nothing about music. The only thing I wouldn't understand is motif, because it's a musical term, and I think that you should definitely explain what that is. So remember, when you write a paper, when you write something that's more academic, the very first section after the introduction is almost always used for definitions. It's used to define the terms that you will use in this paper. So basically, you write the paper, you write all of it, and then once you proofread it, you look at words that you've used that maybe newer people would not know, and then you put a whole section at the top called definitions. And it's like, these are the words I'm going to be using in here, this is what they mean. And then you define them. And maybe if you want to give more extra stuff, you can put a whole subheading and be like, a motif is a da-da-da-da. This was most famously used by this composer, and it means this, and there's a da-da-da. So you can actually go into it, really, in analysis. But definitions must come first. So that means that in the paper, just write as if the person knows what you're talking about. And then look through the paper, look at the words that you've used that a beginner wouldn't know about, and then define them up at the top of the paper so that they're not confused when they read it. That is what I know about academic writing. As far as formalities and stuff, I think working on your sentences and making sure that you're not just stream of consciousing your sentences and your sentence structure, because it becomes really difficult to read. I will tell you why, because your thought process is not my thought process. The way that you structure a thought that would form a run-on sentence is not how I would structure a thought in a run-on sentence. We would have a difference of readability, basically. So make sure you work on that. There is a reason we have rules of punctuation and sentence structure, and that is so that everyone can conform to the same rule when they read, even if they are thinking differently about it. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, let me see. Hello, Raine. Welcome. Alright, I haven't even finished the prequels yet. I'm months off getting to anything Disney era. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how long you want this paper to be. So far, this is just... it's like a brochure. If you want to write a paper, then I think you would need to go far more in-depth on everything. Right now, it feels like you're just writing your thoughts, which is good. That's good. But if you want to turn this into a full paper, I would start with the headings you want to talk about. Like, make a table of contents almost. That might help you guide yourself. I would assume the music in the trailer, has it even come out yet? Oh, no, I imagine that she was talking about, like, once the movie actually comes out, then she'll be able to talk about it. But yeah. Hey, Salakin as well. What's up? True, taxonomy also isn't a perfect system, except for my Plato's and Diogenes theory. Of course, you are the only one who's ever come up with a perfect taxonomy. Yeah, I'm trying to aim for casual, because casual helps with accessibility, as overly academic writing is very daunting to read. Yeah, no. Look, I think I know, of course, the type of academic writing you're referring to, but not all academic writing is exhausting. Remember, you still got to stick with the conventions so that they are easier to read. But you don't have to use all of the pompous, like self-aggrandizing language that academics often use. You can be more casual with it, of course. I would recommend that, actually. But yeah, the notable exception will be explained later. Okay, sick. You should mention that you will. Okay, the march isn't in A New Hope. That's crazy. I thought it was. Something along the lines of an ensemble, which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time, comma, with only a couple instances of him breaking away from it. Yes, but it's still... That's only the second half of a sentence. So, yeah, let me look here. So, like... Hold on. It's a very... Wait, where is it? Is it in here? Ah! There we go. Okay, I find it. This is what these are the two sentences that I'm looking at, and I want you to look at them quickly. Here's how, even together, you're basically taking the second half, the words as well as come after something else. Like, so this is the second half of a sentence that is incomplete. And this is another second half of a sentence, which usually has something before it. An ensemble which Williams sticks to. So I would say, it's an ensemble that consists of this. An ensemble which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time. That's still one sentence. You know what I mean? So you've taken two second halves of a sentence and you've put them right after one another. So they are incomplete fragments, basically. And and two halves doesn't necessarily make a whole if they are two second halves only. That's why I changed this. So you would say, if I were to use this without changing anything, then all of this becomes one sentence by only changing this. Instead of as well as, I would say, it establishes the baseline orchestration for the saga, being that of the standard Western orchestra consisting of strings, brass, woodwinds, tuned percussion, and non-tuned percussion, hyphen or dash. An ensemble which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time, with only one or two instances of him breaking away from it that I know of. And that is a full sentence. That's a very long sentence. I wouldn't do that. So, I would say, it establishes blah, 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 and this is an ensemble which Williams sticks to the vast majority of the time. Break it into simpler sentences. I know that we speak. This is why speech and converting speech into writing is so important. It's so important to understand the rules, conventions of how we do that and how it looks. Yeah. Rip it to shreds. Any little detail? Okay, cool. I'll give you. I'm not ripping it apart. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to give feedback and critique. Yeah, I think once I've finished it, I'll go back and add a little section of definitions for things I'll need. Makes sense to me to do that last. Yeah. It's always a good idea. I think there are a couple types of commas used that would really do your work favors here, Alex. It really helps with the casual writing. I can try and find a description of the different types. Yeah. Commas are great. Commas are great. I'm a big fan of commas. Lengthwise, I'll end up going into more meticulous detail when I get into the Disney era, since that's the main focus. Oh, of course, because it's 21st century. My bad. Yeah, okay, cool. Something I know about you, Alex, is you love a good spreadsheet. Might help you try out your outline and note the definitions. Okay, cool. You guys are... I'm not going to air out a full private conversation that's happening in chat. Okay, cool. So, what do you mean streamers always take the hard route? What am I doing? Alright, so we're going to move on from now, and we're going to go to the prequel trilogy. So, here we go. This is where the fun begins. Full stop, not a comma. The prequel trilogy is where the sound of Star Wars really starts to branch from what we'd known more drastically. The Phantom Menace introduces us to the more epic sound of the prequel trilogy, with one new feature being a massive choir and a lot more piano than we were used to, having only been used sparingly in the original trilogy. This would be good in brackets, in parentheses, or with a dash next to this. Because you are now explaining why we are not used to so much piano. You need to explain with some kind of punctuation marking, that this is the explanation for this. So like a dash or parentheses in here, etc. This trilogy also gives us some absolutely magnificent low brass parts, most famously in Revenge of the Sith. Comma would be good. Oh, spacebar. I think one of the most famous examples is, I know that being sounds really fancy, but again, as soon as you say being, this becomes a second half sentence fragment again. Do you understand? It's just one of those things. So if you want, take this away and go, this trilogy also gives us some absolutely magnificent low brass parts, most famously in Revenge of the Sith. One of the most famous examples being the Temple March cue. There's no sentence, then in that case you can't have a full stop here, you gotta have a comma. This turns it into a fragment, so you've got to say is. I think one of the most famous examples is the Temple March cue, with the main melody being in the low brass, with this incredible marching snare pattern just pounding away under this incredibly menacing variation of the Republic theme, with the trumpets chiming in for some flourishes and then taking over the melody. Whew. That's one sentence. Run-on sentences. Be careful. There is with this incredible, with this incredible, this incredibly, with the trumpets. So you are basically using the same conjunction words to fit 4 or 5 points into one sentence. Break it up a little bit. Break it up. Even if you have to make like 4 or 5 sentences, it's okay to do so. it's a lot of information to just jam into one sentence, and I might get the average reader might get confused. I was certainly like it's a bit of a struggle to get through it. So what I would use instead is, we've talked a lot in writing streams before about diversity of descriptions, so diversity of adjectives. Don't say the same thing in the same sentence. Use different words. Then there are some places which could use capital letters, like Temple March. Like, that's not a generic term. That is the name of the thing. So say Temple March in either quotation marks or with capital TM. Same thing, Republic theme, capital R, capital T, and then that would be about it for capitals. But yeah, break apart the sentence here. Work on that. I think mainly because of your conjunctions. You've said with a lot, trying to like join the sentences together, and I think it's okay to have them apart. Yeah. Okay. Alex yelled at you to use Control F. Control F, damn it, man. Oh, it was that was to find the sentence that we were looking for before. Yeah. Not a private convo. Oh, you're agreeing with me. Okay. No, I just thought like you're talking to her specifically, so I was like, I don't want to, like, I'm here. Yeah, it's fine. I'm seeing I'm developing off half sentences. She'll go through and correct all those. That is one behemoth sentence. It's okay. It's okay. I'm the king of run-on sentences. That was my biggest issue when I was younger. I still struggle with it, and it's mainly because I really want to get a lot of information into the reader's ears as soon as possible. But it ends up intimidating, and like it's very difficult to read. I use hyphens in conversation when I don't want to bother with proper punctuation. It gives the pause I would normally use if speaking out loud. Remember, hyphens and dashes are slightly different. Hyphens will join words together. Dashes separate sentences apart. I'm just saying, for those of you who are writers who want to know the difference between the two, what Taters is talking about is a dash, not to mansplain, but I think what, like when they're having full conversations, like if a horizontal line is going to separate sentences to try and like, describe a pause in the conversation, that would be a dash. And yeah, that is a good idea. I agree. I'm just stitching like 37 sentences together for no apparent reason. There is a reason. Stop self-deprecating. It's fine. Be nice to yourself. Okay, we're gonna move on. First, the Prequel Trilogy stuff is really cool, and it's interesting. I also like this. I like that we're using a choir for the first time, and I think and the low brass is pretty cool too. Like, he uses a lot of the low brass instruments, like tuba and euphonium, I think. I don't know if there is a euphonium in the Prequel Trilogy orchestra, but still, there's definitely a tuba, or trombones are doing the work a lot as well, and I think that's really awesome. That like. Like that kind of vibe is really prevalent in the Prequel Trilogy. So very cool. And also piano. Yeah, I like that as well. Okay. I thought the symbol was called a hyphen. It is called a hyphen. Hyphens are, but only if it's used in its specific context. A horizontal line is called a hyphen in, like, my name, for example, like MJ, like Taters has said. So the hyphen joins my names together, but a dash would be like, it doesn't join anything. It separates sentences. Like, it counts as a break in the sentence. So hyphens would be joining, dashes would be separating. I'm British, damn it. Self-deprecation is part of my culture. And you wonder why people in the UK are, like, notoriously unhappy. Stop it. The man with a hyphen in his name mansplains hyphens. Listen, at least I'm aware of it, all right? At least I'm aware of it. We're trying to be... This is a writing stream where we're nitpicking, all right? We're being very pedantic. So that's why I'm in that zone. It's not a hat that I wear very often, all right? So when I do wear it, unfortunately, I tend to get quite into it. So, let's move from the Prequel Trilogy to the Phantom Menace. I note that this is maybe a slightly smaller font, but change the formatting slightly because it looks like the same heading at a glance. So and this, the Phantom Menace is under the prequel trilogy. So like, maybe just take away the underline, make it just bold. Before I get ahead of myself, I should probably talk about Duel of the Fates, since that is the defining theme of this trilogy and also the one that pushed the envelope the most for Star Wars at this point and defined the sound of the prequel trilogy going forward. Okay. Duel of the Fates is based around two motifs primarily. Colon, not comma. The faster driving pattern alternating between 8th notes and 16th notes. And the choral motif, which gives the track a sense of scale and also provides most of the harmonic. Okay. So I would go colon. It's okay for this to be one sentence. So here's how it works. Duel of the Fates is based around two motifs primarily. Colon. The faster driving pattern, alternating between 8th notes and 16th notes, comma, and the choral motif, which gives the track a sense of scale and also provides most of the harmonic information. This is fine as one sentence. The instrumentation for Duel of the Fates is also somewhat unique in the way it throws the parts around so sporadically, with the melody bouncing between sections at the drop of a hat, as well as the entire track jumping around keys constantly before returning to its original key for the final statement. This is a good long sentence. I really felt like the comma was really well placed, and you used as well as correctly, and you used the present continuous tense correctly. Yes, this is a good long sentence. This gives me enough information and I'm not confused with it. So that's really, really good. Yeah. And also I agree with the content. Like, I really love that prequel trilogy music puts the theme in different sections like all the time. That like that, it's so cool. So cool how it's done. Another interesting development within this trilogy is the way it completely recontextualizes the themes Williams introduced in the original trilogy, namely the main Star Wars theme and the Force theme. Cool. The Star Wars theme within the context of the original trilogy, comma, complete your comma sections. So here you've gone the Star Wars theme, and then this is extra information. So because this part is extra information, then when you're done giving extra information, you must put another comma to close the parentheses. The Star Wars theme, comma, within the context of the original trilogy, comma, functioned as Luke's theme, but within the prequel trilogy it becomes what we now know as the Star Wars theme, in that it's used in moments of victory and triumph and doesn't hold any connection to Luke Skywalker as a character any longer within this context. Cool. Yeah, I like this as well. Again, I think we share a wish to explain a lot of information in a very short amount of time, and so we do end up, both you and I, end up having a penchant for run-on sentences, which can become a problem. But for now, I think every now and then it's okay. Okay. The other is the Force theme. Where's the first? The main Star Wars theme. Excuse me. Yeah. The main Star Wars theme and the first theme and the Force theme. Okay. So they're themes: the Star Wars theme and the Force theme. Okay. Cool. The other is the Force theme, which was Obi-Wan's theme within the original trilogy. It's not until the prequel trilogy that it starts to resemble what we now know as the Force theme. And it wouldn't be until the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus show in 2022 that Obi-Wan would get his own theme again. But we'll get back to that later. Yeah, I like that. Probably a dash would be good here, because this is like a separate part of the sentence, but it's okay to be the same. Okay. The end of The Phantom Menace gives us one of the most thematically interesting pieces of music in the entire franchise, in which we have Palpatine's theme playing in the Naboo Victory March scene. This is such a cool moment for Star Wars music. I love it, and I love explaining it to people as well. When I go to South Africa, we're gonna do a Star Wars marathon with my family, and when this comes on, I'm gonna talk about it. It's so freaking cool. But not in any way we've heard it before or since. It's transposed into a major key and arranged like a marching band, giving it a big, joyous, victorious feel. When in fact, what this is telling you is that Palpatine is the only person winning in this moment, as all his plans are slotting perfectly into place, which would lead to the rise of the Empire. Capital E. Cool. Oh, there's Attack of the Clones stuff as well. Okay. I love the Attack of the Clones music. So, I'm noticing, I need you to understand that you are almost putting an entire paragraph per sentence and then putting paragraph breaks. Watch out for that. It becomes long, and there are very few of your sentences are bite-sized. So make sure you have some sentence length. I've talked a lot about variations in sentence length in fiction writing, but in non-fiction writing, it is almost the same importance. It's almost more important to have sentence variety, because in academic writing, a reader often has to focus a little in a very different way, and maintain that focus if they're going to learn something. Not to say we don't learn things from fantasy or fiction, but non-fiction has a specific, like, academic writing is specifically like that. So if you want to get away from the conventions that you were talking about when how academic writing is often a little difficult to read through, one of the reasons is because they have sentences that are really, really, really long and difficult to sift through. When I read my legal textbook, sometimes I would read sentences that were filled with so much information that it would be like an entire, almost a whole page was just one sentence. I made note of that several times in my university degree. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So you're not that bad, don't worry. But I would still watch out for it either way. Might I recommend using sarcastically positive self-deprecation? Yeah, it's a good recommendation. I'm all for the most info, shortest word count. It's good to condense info like that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. I knew you'd love this bit. Bro, I really, like, Star Wars music is such an important, like, part of my musical education. I use it all the time. And this moment, when I heard it for the first time and when I clocked onto it, I was like, no way. It's like when you find out that Kylo's theme and Rey's theme are two parts of Palpatine's theme. It's like, what? That's insane. It's so good. Yeah, dude, a whole page. Yeah. Legal textbooks are egregious. They are the most guilty of the worst kinds of sentences. Anyway, let's move on to the last section of this, which is Attack of the Clones. The score for Attack of the Clones, capitals, push the boat out even further. Comma. Introducing guitars to the palette of Star Wars, although they are rather far back in the mix and you don't really notice them. Whoa. Okay. So which part do you want this section? So let's read the full thing. The score for Attack of the Clones pushed the boat out even further, introducing guitars to the palette of Star Wars, although they are rather far back in the mix and you don't really notice them. There are electric guitars in the Zam Wessel chase at the very top of the film, simply just playing eighth notes and providing some drive and energy to the score. Whew. Take a second. This bit is the middle bit. You need to either attach this piece to this sentence or this sentence. If it were me, I would attach it here. I would say, the score for Attack of the Clones pushed the boat out even further, comma, introducing guitars to the palette of Star Wars, although they are rather far back in the mix and you don't really notice them, full stop. There are electric guitars, and then I would say, for example, comma, there are electric guitars in the Zam Wessel chase, spelling, it's an EL, at the very top of the film, simply just playing eighth notes and providing some drive and energy to the score. And that's it. That's it. So I think that would be a good place to put it. On the soundtrack album version of Zam the Assassin, at around 3:18, there's a dissonant electric guitar that plays the lead line with some tremolo bar chaos, comma, but this doesn't appear in the final film. Interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. You have such a cool knowledge of this, my dude. I really love reading about your thoughts. After this section, the track goes into a lengthy percussion break with a tenor drum soloing, with occasional bass drum and patati hits. Definitely define that. For a moment, the lead electric guitar re-enters, but then we immediately return to the percussion break. Okay. With a tenor drum soloing, with occasional bass drum, find a different way to conjoin sentences. And then split your sentence. So, full stop, new sentence. For a moment, the lead electric guitar re-enters, comma, but then we immediately return to the percussion break. Cool. Another really fun addition to Attack of the Clones is that Williams has added a solo soprano singer in the track Yoda and the Younglings. I like this as well, and I really love how you are able to describe the new things that each movie's soundtrack did that was new, like in terms of instruments and the kinds of instruments they brought in, which is really cool. Which comes in at 2:03 and remains in place for the majority of the rest of the track until the violins take back the melody, playing the Anakin and Padme love theme across the stars at 3:00. Yeah, another thing to divide. So Williams is at so again, this is a whole single sentence. Another really fun addition in Attack of the Clones. Williams added a solo soprano singing the track. Yoda and the Youngs come to 2:03. Remains in place for the majority of the rest of the track until the violins take over. Okay, cool. Stop. Stop at any point in the middle. There are a couple of places. A solo soprano in the track Yoda and the Younglings, which comes in at 2:03 and remains in place for the majority of the rest of the track. Cool. Then, you might be able to get away with this being one sentence, but because you've had so many other long sentences, it wouldn't really work. So if you were to make this all one sentence, put another dash here. And then a comma here, playing the Anakin and Padme love theme. But if you're going to break this up, you would say another really fun addition in Attack of the Clones. Williams added a solo soprano singer. Full stop. In the track Yoda and the Younglings, comma, it comes in at 2:03 and remains in place for the majority of the rest of the track. Full stop. Then the violins take back the melody, comma, playing the Anakin and Padme love theme across the stars. Now you've broken up into 3 sentences, which are way easier to digest than just the one. Cool. Lastly, the very end of this film vibes us some of the most glorious on-the-nose bits of... I'm assuming you're saying gives, but if you're trying to use vibes as a verb, I'm afraid it might not work. Also, on the nose is one adjective, so you need hyphens here. So on-the-nose. On-the-nose bits of musical foreshadowing in cinematic history, comma, with Palpatine stood over the newly formed clone army, again, hyphen here, as the Imperial March blares over the top before leading right into the Anakin and Padme love theme and into the titles. Cool. Again, another full sentence. Let's break this up. The very end of this film, let me hang on. I'm going to say, okay, but there's also a G. So instead of vibes, you said Gibbs. Gib music. So let me help you. The very end of this film gives us some of the most glorious on the nose bits of musical foreshadowing in cinematic history. Full stop. Palpatine stood is a very British way of speaking, and you need to use the word standing. It's spoken British. Written British is using standing, not stood. I'm sat here. I'm sat on the chair. I'm stood at the wall. Like, it's spoken. It's not written. So, writing, you would say, Palpatine stands over the newly formed clone army as the Imperial March blares over the top, comma, before leading right into the Anakin and Padme love theme and the titles. You don't need to say into if you've already said into up here. And that's it. That's it. Yeah, also really cool. There's amazing stuff in Attack of the Clones music as well. I could talk about it for ages too. But I really, really like the things that you've decided to focus on. I know that you're focusing more on the Disney era, which I think is great. So I'm really excited for you to get into that part. I would love to read your thoughts about it because so far the content is brilliant. I would really love reading this. I think it'd be really cool to get your perspective. So yeah, I think your thoughts and yeah, content-wise, brilliant. Really, really nice and really fun to read through. Vibes-wise, not gives, but vibes, really getting a casual sense from you, which is good because that's what you wanted. And I'm really loving the fact that I'm basically sitting down with a friend and talking about Star Wars music. I think that's awesome. You really understand the whole write like you speak kind of style, which I think is really cool. So yeah, keep that going. The biggest, most glaring thing I would think that needs work is just format, sentence structure, and punctuation. You've got to make sure that you can get this amazing content you have in your brain. You've got to get it onto a page in a way that is easily digestible for a reader. So yeah, I would write The way that I would fix this, the way that I would work on this is write everything. Do all of your thoughts. Do stream of consciousness. Do it exactly as the way that you've been doing it so far. And then when you're done, go up and turn it into something more like easy to follow. Take away the run-on sentences, add more punctuation. But for now, I just think it's really important for you to get the content out there. So finish everything you want to talk about, get all the substance into the page, and then you can work on the editing and formatting later. Formatting is not something that you should do first. It's something that you do after you've written all the content. But you must do it. It is very, very important. And there we go. Okay. Fragments of race theme and color scene are taken from Palpatine's News Wild. Yeah, I was talking about it. Yeah. Okay. You can really tell I'm just stream of consciousness this. Yeah. And like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. It means that you're really getting into it. It's like, I can tell you're really interested in it and passionate about it. But a lot of passion doesn't always translate into easy readability. That's all I'm saying. I'm really looking forward to when I get to Disney. Going to be a lot of fun. There's so much interesting stuff in there. Yeah, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of good shit in there. Okay, so break up insane run-on sentences, tweak wording in places where it gets repetitive. Yeah, those would be good places to start. But there are also places where you could use like a comma, a full stop, a dash, things like that. Yeah. So just work on grammar rules, work on punctuation, and yeah, repetitive descriptions, like you said. Diversity of adjectives is a really good way to go about things as well. Make sure your sentences aren't too long, all that kind of stuff. Again, I would recommend not doing it now. I would recommend getting your content out now. And then doing the rest later. Okay. So, that's all my content. That's all I want to do. Oh god, really? Really, guys? Why are you screenshotting my face in the middle? Why did you do this? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Hi, Alpherg. How long have you been sitting here?
I've been here the whole time.
Incredible. I knew that you were waiting for that. How long have you really been sitting here?
The whole time.
Wow. Wow, damn. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate that.
I'm still writing.
You don't have to finish it by the... If I don't have anything else to read, it'll be the end of stream. So that's fine. Don't worry about it. I think Raine might have added stuff, though. So, Raine, if you're still here, do you want to do stuff? If you're still in the stream, do you want to read some of the stuff that you've been writing? And I can work on that too. Hey, they're here. He's literally been there the whole time. Oh, Taters, thanks for telling me as well. Appreciate that. Love that everyone gives me updated information. I know he's been in the hanging out part. I didn't know when he transferred into the live on stream channel. That's why. Since I'm thinking about it, I might just do Revenge of the Sith tonight, or at least make a start on it. Sick! Very cool, very cool. You can talk about how similar Battle of the Heroes and Duel of the Fates are. And they have the same, they have like a very similar ostinato in the strings. Same vibes. Oh, we want to do it. Okay. You can read mine. I'm just making sure the scene is where I want it. Okay, well, I'll do Raine's, and then in the meantime, you can finish yours, and then we'll read yours as well. Cool. So how do I get over to Carnival of Intrigue? Let me scroll up a little bit and find where you put it. Here we go. Is this done? Is this, Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, there's a lot. Okay. Sick. Okay, so, we left off. We're gonna move from Alex's to Raine's. This is Carnival of Intrigue. which is where a bunch of cat people are being criminals. And it's very stereotypical and and very offensive to Khajiit, all right? It's far from a complete story. Oh, no, I know. They're not criminals. Okay. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So, so basically it was like, cat burglars. That's actually such a cool way of putting it, because they're literal cats. Anyway, two characters who were like on a mission. They were like breaking into someone's place to like, I think it was like to investigate something. And they found that he was dead. Dun dun dun. Then they went to report that to their superior, and that's where we left off. So if I can like oh. All right. So it was Zara and who's the other? Esmar. Zara and Esmar, and then Nilo is the superior, the sergeant that the two detectives are reporting to. And the sergeant is like, agitating my sciatica, give me your badge and your guns now! And that's the vibe. So, we left off, I think, here. Yeah, he walked out onto the balcony. Oh, no, I think the last time I read was probably around here. So I'm gonna start from here, and then we'll just read. Oh my god. Holy shit! This is huge! There's so much! Okay. Wait, did I not read this? Oh no, I read this privately. Okay, so I'll read this out loud for everyone, and then we'll get to have a look at it. Alrighty, first we need some more music. Okay. Right, this is Carnival of Intrigue, Part 2. Hello, John. Speaking of Star Wars, we're doing a Spaceballs event. Michael Winslow will be there. Cool. Cool, nice to see you here. That's awesome. Perfectly whelmed. Yes. All right, here we go. So this is after they've talked to the superior, and he's just given them like, yeah, he's gonna make contact with the Eshkrivi, I think. So there we go. Both the Shanurans observed the masquerade marching on, though not sharing the same mood. Death on the job itself was not unfamiliar to the two, particularly to Esmar, but in this case, it was a complication that bothered them both, Zara in particular. Okay, in this case, by the way, I'm going to stop here quickly. I want to turn down the music a little bit so we can focus, because it can be quite distracting. I'm going to ask, Raine, are you looking for anything in particular here? Or, because if not, then I'm just going to give general impressions. I'm not going to be as specific as I was with Alex's work. I will be more like, I'll be a little bit more broad, maybe talk about what I like, since now we're going back into fiction. So it's a different set of critiques. So if you want anything particular here, then let me know. General impressions work for now. Okay, cool. Esmar took a sip from his water skin and offered it to Zara, who gratefully took a swig from it. They idled outside of Nilo's door, with Esmar keeping his eyes on the parade. Zara, however, had other things on her mind. She seemed keen on losing herself in the march once again, to the tide wash over her ruminations. But she hesitated and ended up staying, shifting her gaze to the fireworks above. Esmar could see that she was nervous. I don't want to see them again, Esmar, Zara asserted, crossing her arms. Esmar's gaze was still on her, listening. How would they even know anything about this? It makes no sense. Esmar remained silent, but he couldn't agree with her more. A murder of this kind does not necessarily imply the works of master assassins. He would know. And with his own expertise in mind, Esmar saw no sign of this being the work of the Eshkrivi. Master assassins. Cool, because we don't know what they are. And with this little subtle thing, you have let us know that that's what they are. I love that. Still, he wasn't sure how to formulate his thoughts about their next course of action, so he kept his silence for now, moving his gaze back to the crowd. Zara lowered her head in response to the lack of one given from Esmar. Ah, cool. Cool line. Always so silent, Zara muttered, prompting Esmar to finally speak up. I will visit them. You do not need to. Esmar turned his gaze back to Zara and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. He saw the relief wash over Zara. Nilo will not care if you follow or not. He's merely digging sand, trying to find what is not there. Zara nodded, her chin rising up. A cool little world-building expression. Nice. You're a good friend. Thank you. Zara smiled and put her mask back on. I'll keep an eye around here. If I find something, you'll be the first to know. She kissed her 2 fingers and patted Esmar's cheek with them, before joining the river of masks and costumes. Esmar managed to keep an eye on Zara among the crowd for a few seconds, before she fully disappeared among the masks. The first thing that came to mind, once Zara had left his sight, was the crime scene. His thoughts went back to the room, to what he saw. Andrau was behind the desk, leaned backwards on the chair, a swift cut through his throat. What else was there? The office was ransacked, no documents incriminating the counselor. The window and door was open. Were there any signs, any marks? Esmar rewound his memories. What a cool way of describing memory. Desk, Andrau, chair, cutthroat, ransacked shelves, open door and window. Somewhere in his train of thought, Esmar realized something. Whoever murdered Andrau must have known him. Otherwise, the counselor would have noticed an assassin breaking into his office. There would have been signs of a struggle if that were the case. Instead, this was too clean. The Eshkrivi were good, but even in these circumstances, they would rather let perfect be the enemy of good and wait for a better opportunity. I've talked about this with you in private, but this is a great expression. I love it. What about magic? Was magic involved in this? Esmar came to the conclusion that any magic involvement would be too hard to investigate, at least in this situation. He was no mage, after all. Zara, perhaps, would be able to figure it out, but she's gone already. If only I thought of it earlier, Esmar thought. My apologies. Letting out a quiet sigh. Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break here and talk about how cool it is. I think talking about general impressions. All of this I've spoken about with you in private, but I will re-air it here for everyone to listen to. I really love the way that you backtrack through a character's memories. It's really important that, remember, you're writing a book, and so the reader, sometimes you want a reader to piece together what's going on before the characters. And sometimes you just want the reader along for the ride, and the characters are going to piece things together. This is the latter, I think, because Esmar is like thinking of things himself. And what I really enjoy is how you've done it. The way that you're describing the way the character like rewinds, goes through and thinks about everything that's important to him and like and then draws conclusions from that. It's very Geralt of Rivia style. Like the way the Witcher novels were written is very similar like this. And the way the Witcher games play is also very similar to this. Like you observe clues, and then you kind of make commentary on them. I get that vibe. It's really cool. Really, really cool. Okay. Esmar rewound his train of thought once again. Desk, Andrau, chair, throat, shelves, door, window. Oh my god. It's morning, I'm sorry. You're not boring. You're very interesting. I'm just reading bigger paragraphs now. Did he look outside the window? What did he see? No good way to enter the office from either below nor above. The culprit could have escaped through it, but that raises more questions. How would one land safely from that drop? And without any witnesses? From what Esmar could remember, there weren't a lot of people on the street below. Still, it was quite the height. Once more Esmar rewound his thought process, but this time he went further back. The door. The first door. The entrance. Both were locked. Could the culprit have locked them after leaving the building? After all, no one would have paid attention to them, just as no one noticed Esmar and Zara breaking in. It was another potential route to consider. Esmar's mind returned to the street once the next hopefully scheduled volley of fireworks began, disrupting his concentration. He looked up to the flashing colors, then to the crowd of revelers. Soon enough, Esmar realized that there was still time to get back to Andrao's office before the Tide Watch. So he began to move back in the direction of the crime scene, though this time in his own way, through the shadows. Cool. This is such a tiny thing, but I remember I read Hopefully Scheduled, and then disrupting his concentration like immediately afterwards means they weren't hopefully, they were definitely, you know? It's such a tiny thing, and I know you were asking for general impressions, but it just kind of, it clicked in my head. Because they've already begun, so they began, but they were, I think what, I know your implication was like, Esmar was hoping they would be scheduled, and then they immediately began, like that, I think that was what you meant. But this does create a little bit of confusion. It's such a tiny thing, so don't fret about it. But it did make me pick up a little bit. Okay, let's keep going. There's a lot to get through. Let me see. I'm up to 4 a.m. right now. Jesus, so I won't be as able to pick up on particular notes. Okay, yeah, that's fair. So I'll keep it broad. I'm just reading this because it's fun at this point. My thought process there was mainly that, like, I have heard cases where fireworks go off earlier than planned. Oh, cool. Then keep it. No. Then keep it, but word it slightly differently. So you can say, Esmar's mind returned to the street, waiting for the next hopefully scheduled volley of fireworks. So instead of once, you can say, Esmar's mind returned to the street, awaiting the next hopefully scheduled volley of fireworks, comma, when they began early, disrupting his concentration. That's I would say that's a much better way of communicating that idea. You can figure out your own way of doing that, but just off the top of my head, that's how I would do it. I really want to read the Witcher books. They are good. I've not read any of them to completion. I used to read them when I was a little younger. I borrowed them from my friend, but they are pretty fun. I also think the show kind of simulates that quite well, with Garrett kind of thinking aloud a lot of the time. Yes, absolutely. Okay, here we go. Finding himself fortunate enough to have reached the crime scene. Finding himself fortunate enough to have reached the crime scene before anyone else, Esmar looked up from the street below. The window was still open. The door up to the office was locked, he remembered, meaning that the window, as he had reasoned earlier, must have been the way out for the culprit. Following that strand, Esmar began to survey the street itself. Just as before, it was one of the few streets vacant from any celebrations. On the opposite side of the building was the plaza, where the stage had been constructed for the festivities, and from where they had entered the building before. It seemed strange to Esmar that, given the main event being in close proximity, there ought to be far more people here. Perhaps it had been deemed off-limits. Convenient, if that's the case, he thought. I love his thought process. It's really cool. Approaching the ground below the window, Esmar started searching around for anything that caught his attention, anything that is out of place. Between barrels, behind crates, within nooks and crannies. However, he found nothing during his investigation. The street was as empty in evidence as it was in people. Cool. If the culprit escaped through the window, they left no trace behind. Having come to this conclusion, Esmar left the street and crossed to the other side, where he observed the stage play past all the revelers on the plaza. It was a risky decision, but Esmar skulked in the shadows, beneath the alcove, returning back into the office. Once again, he began to search the room for anything out of the ordinary. He knew already that some documents were missing, but as these were on both his and Zara's mind at the time, chances are they may have overlooked any other evidence present. And then this is something really cool. So Raine was talking about this with me the other day, or yesterday, I think it was, that we were following what we were talking about in the Writer's Corner in the Discord, where if you don't know how to describe something, but you want the event to happen, put it in brackets that it happens, and then move on with the story before you lose your train of thought. If you already have the rest of the story, you just don't have this middle part, put that in brackets and then move on. And I think what they've done here is really cool. So basically, Esmar ends up finding a significant clue that implicates someone else, and not the Eshkrivi, but a scuffle happens which he escapes from, probably the Tide Watch or someone who returned to clean up the scene. We then cut to Zara mixing work and party. Sick! Very cool. I love that. And you'll come back to it later, and that's how we do it. All right, let's keep moving. May I serve you another glass? A masked waiter asked Zara. She bowed her head and extended the crystal glass with a smile. Once filled up, she took a soft sip from the sparkling wine, thanking the waiter, and carried on watching the higher class swirl around in a gentle waltz. Her intuition had brought her here, to the ballroom of the Verdini Theatre. Ooh, a name! Cool! Where glamorous Baroque decor, glorious symphonies, and sumptuous costumes mingled together in delightful festivities. Zara couldn't wait to be invited to a dance. Not just for the joy of it, but also because one could trade rumors and scandalous remarks between each other. Another. Okay, sorry. My other tiny thing. It's pulling me up. Is when you're talking about one, each other is not one. You should stick. It's almost like an era of concord, but not quite. It's like an era of personal concord. I'm making up terms, but it's. I would say like also because one could trade rumors and scandalous remarks with others or amongst others, or you could say also because some could trade rumors and scandalous remarks between each other. That would work better. But this is a singular and this is plural, so it doesn't quite work. Anyway, like I said, tiny thing. Masked anonymity, she thought, often unlocked the lips of people and yielded insight into some of the darkest secrets they harbored. The waltz concluded, and the rounds of applause emerged from both participants and onlookers. During the minute break before... I'm not sure if it's minute or minute, because that would be short break, but I'll say minute. During the minute break before the next waltz, a masked man in shining green and gold approached Zara. She saw bright brown eyes beneath the mask, and a strand of auburn loose beneath his tricorn. Oh, a tricorn, my favorite hat! This intrigued Zara, smiling inquisitively as the man greeted her. May I have your hand in this next dance, fair lady? He spoke with gentle confidence. Zara smiled inquisitively, put aside her glass on a nearby waiter's tray, and extended the same hand to the masked man, permitting him a dance. The man held her hand and lowered his head towards it in a sign of formal gratitude before they both entered the stage. The orchestra began the next waltz, an explosion of strings and horns in a confident pace. Zara's favorite kind, where the swift steps and good eye coordination was required, lest one falls behind or gets nauseous. Do forgive me, but I could not help but observe that your Shanuran, or Shanuran, I'm not sure how I'm to pronounce that, but I will say Shanuran, the man spoke in their dance. The ears and tail gave it away, Zara smiled, perhaps a bit sardonically, replying, Your perception is immaculate, my good sir. Her Shanuran accent broke through. Strong, rolling R's permeating her speech, even replacing the L's in Travantian. The man smirked, having caught on to Zara's sarcasm. Rest assured, I do not think ill of your kind. On the contrary, your culture fascinates me, the man continued. This is what we were talking about. Oh, I have context. Zara could hear beneath that gentle confidence a tinge of force. He had an ulterior motive beneath this fascination. Her first thought was that he probably wanted to indulge in her body, something she'd often had to endure while blending in with the nobility. Though she felt exhausted at these advances, Zara hid behind an inquisitive, unassuming smile, played along, and asked, My good sir, that is reassuring to hear. Please inquire about what you wish to know of us. An underarm turn, and then they faced each other again. Sorry, I'm not doing the replacement. I'm just going to speak. Where do I begin, fair lady? The man tried to pry through Zara's smile, deduce the truth behind it with a pivot. But Zara was no stranger to this game herself, and her facade was impenetrable. The man chuckled briefly, though he was unable to read her completely, and merely continued. It is the graceful aura that you exude, the kind that disarms anyone, yet there are the streaks of mystique that I find intriguing. What can I say, good sir? I am flattered with these compliments. You have a way with words that can charm anyone who hears them. So let me repay you in kind. Zara then began to take control of the conversation with a dual check line, and once they faced each other again, she continued. Such grace and confidence in your steps. It is truly a relief from all the rabble and chaos at the plaza. The man was silent for a few seconds, holding his smile. Gold, Zara thought. She seemed to have hit a nerve, or better yet, found a lead into her mission. The man chuckled softly and nodded. We cannot expect everyone to know how to handle themselves, can we? He tried to regain control of the conversation in the dance, but Zara insisted with another pressure point. Unfortunately so, and sometimes we have to, how does one say it, show that we are a cut above the rest, no? His smile twitched slightly. He knew something about the counselor, Zara inferred, and she gave the man a knowing smile. Let us cut to the chase then, my fair lady. What is it you seek? The man submitted to interrogation, Zara moving in close and lowered her voice. I take it that you were around Chancellor Andrao's office tonight, and that something happened there. His smile diminished, and Zara continued. Perhaps you can indulge me. The man remained smiling, but there was a twitch of uncertainty as he began to explain. Very well, then. Last I saw from the plaza, there were 3 masked figures leaving the good counselor's office, locking the door behind them. In their promenade, Zara listened attentively to the man's confession. I'm no friend of Counselor Andrao, but these 3 men seemed to be in a hurry, and their outfits seemed more uniform than masquerade. Zara encouraged him to pivot her, whispering, Go on. As I continued on my way here, I caught a glimpse of the good counselor's window. Now, it might just be me, but if the counselor was one of the 3 men, I find it odd that he would lock the door but leave his window open. The man continued, but Zara kept hearing the uncertainty in his tone. She inferred that this testimony was not truthful. However, I did not pry any further, nor did I investigate whether he had been murdered. He cut himself off shortly, but it was too late. Zara grinned as they both realized his mistake. The air between the two was tense. The orchestra's music seemed distant. An hour passing by within a second, silence between the two that was finally broken by Zara cutting through his charade. My good sir, I fear you said too much here. I never said once that Councillor Andrao had been murdered, now have I? The man's smile was wiped off. The moment the waltz came to an end, he tried to part ways with Zara. But she held onto his hand firmly. She had him where he wanted now, she. Come now, let's not make a scandal here like the rabble, yeah? Just follow my lead. Zara ordered the man with a teasing dig, who begrudgingly followed the Shinoran. Bows were given to the rounding applause, followed by a changing of participants and observers for the next dance. Zara and the man, however, moved to a more secluded room, Zara reaching for a new glass of sparkling wine on the way to bring along with her. With a tiny sip from the glass and her masked gaze locked to the now agitated man, Zara took charge of the interrogation. Now, indulge me, my good sir. Tell me all that you know. I didn't take a break from this whole sequence because it was so good. I was so, brought along with it for the whole ride. That was absolutely phenomenal. That was really, really, really compelling. That whole back and forth, the dialogue, I can tell where it's going, right? You can see the tropes, it's going to be the dance is a metaphor for the conversation and the power shifts and the power imbalance and stuff. But it's there for a reason. I don't think tropes are bad. I'm just I know where this is going, but I still love reading about it. And the way that you've done it is so great. I almost imagined, at the end, that she would have grabbed him, and as he tried to leave, she'd move forward and very subtly, I imagine it like a movie. She has a knife. And he feels the tip of the knife kind of poke into his belly or something, and then she's like, well, let's go somewhere else, you know. I don't know how threatening or how opposed to weapons like that she is, but that's how I imagined it in a movie. That was so freaking well done. The descriptions were on point. The way that you shifted from dance to the power that they had to their conversation, the difference in dialogue quality was good as well. The guy, the noble here, speaks really differently from Zara, which shows she uses different vocabulary, which I think is awesome. And it really shows that they are fully different characters. So I really, really like that one. And yeah, I'm a big I was a big fan of how you achieved that. The dialogue diversity was something that I like to hit on quite a lot when I read people's writing, because it's very difficult to get right, because we are one person. So of course, how can we speak differently from us, you know? It's one of the most difficult skills I find, to have dialogue diversity. So I hit on it quite hard when we read other people's writing. But you've done a really, really good job here. I think it's awesome. Yeah. I always find... I always feel a bit uncertain with, like, intrigue dialogue, so this was something I was curious to hear. Yeah, I think you're on the right track. I definitely think you're on the right track. Again, because it's 4 a.m. for you, I don't want to, like, go too deeply into how it works and how we can like, work on it. But I think you are really, really on the right track here. This is awesome. I really enjoyed reading it. Yeah, and it's only up from here. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. I think it's wait, that sounds bad. It's only up from here. It couldn't possibly be worse. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, it's really good, and from this moment you can only, like, get even better from this. So, yeah. I think you did an awesome job. Tropes are just how genre works, really. Genre is just a collection of expectations, and tropes are just expectations. Yeah, 100% correct, yeah. I love a good trope. I just think it's important that we acknowledge where tropes lie, so that we can be self-aware of what we're doing. Hey, love? Is everything okay? Oh, just because downstairs is wet. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, so that was awesome. The main thing I find challenging is making intrigue not feel contrived or forced. Yes. So one of the things that one of the kind of pitfalls that writing intrigue dialogue can create is, rather than it goes beyond trope and it goes towards cliche of, like, the edgy rogue and the pompous noble. I didn't find that here. When I read this, and this is just my takeaway, right? I'm not an expert. I'm just someone I'm just a fellow writer, right? I'm a colleague, basically. So this is just my interpretation. Other people might feel differently, but the way that I feel about it is that I did not feel this was on the nose. I didn't feel that this was forced at all. I thought it was very cool that this happened. I think it's really cool that it happened in the middle of a dance, that it was at a theater. I love that Zara, like, on instinct went to the theater. Like, she knew that someone like this would be there. I think it's so interesting that someone approached her. I think maybe what you can do, if you want to, like, bring about the whole, like, convenience of it, if you want to address that, you can maybe talk about, why did this guy come up to her specifically? Like, is Zara actively positioning herself as someone approachable? Like, does she give off this vibe of, like, I am a meek-mannered lady and you can approach me to have your way, but actually I'm in control? Like, is that her type? Because that's perfectly sufficient. But I think it'd be interesting to, like, address why he chose her and he's, like, the perfect person that she needs. It's like, it's convenient. So explaining convenience is sometimes good in books. But with regarding the forced nature of it, I didn't see that really. Yeah. So no, you're right. Yeah. So I was contemplating that, but I feel like that'd be a bit too cliche, especially for a female character. Yes, I did notice you mentioned that Zara was used to, like, having to put out as part of the job, which is definitely like a medieval woman's lot. I think, especially if it's like medieval. Like medieval assassins and political intrigue and stuff. There's a lot of commodifying. There's a lot of, like, physical commodifying of people's bodies that goes on a lot in that sort of fantasy genre. So I know what you mean. What I wanted to portray there more is just how garbage nobles tend to be. Yeah, no, true. Fair. Yeah, true. Of course. And I think that that's why it was cool that I read that. Suddenly I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I noted that you didn't do it to describe her. You did it to describe him, which is really interesting. It's an interesting little, like, twist on that. That's awesome. A character knowing what to say, how to say it, while also pushing their agendas forward. Yeah, it's very clear that Zara is very competent. Like, she knows what she's doing, and I like that. I really like competent characters. And I also like that I like that the noble that she's dancing with is not incompetent. He's just a shit, you know? So he's still able to speak and able to tell stories. He's just, he's not a bumbling fool. He just fell into a well-placed trap, which I think is really cool. Yeah, the way you did this was lovely. Very, very nice. I think it gives me a really classic Intrigue vibe. It doesn't go fully cliche, and it's not like, you know, special snowflake, I'm very different from everything else. It's like a classic Intrigue atmosphere that I got here, which I think is really, really cool. Yeah. Intrigue is difficult, man. It's really difficult. You have to really spend... I think part of what makes Intrigue work well is if the author spends a lot of time just sitting and imagining and playing around with the scene in their head first and then putting it onto a page so that you can get into character a little bit. Remember, I don't know if you have acting experience, but I have acting experience, and that helps me a lot when it comes to writing characters and writing certain scenes, because I try to practice going into the character in my head first, and we've talked about this before, but a lot of work with Intrigue relies on you moving away from you, because you and we don't do Intrigue. Intrigue is not in our lives. We don't have to make deals with nobles or, you know, slide money under tables for constituencies and stuff. We're not interested. We don't do that kind of stuff in real life. So you have to kind of put yourself into that perspective of the character. So yeah, it works. I do have some acting experience. Oh, sick. I didn't know that from LARPing and theater. I knew about LARPing, but I didn't know about theater. That's awesome, dude. Fellow theater kid. He's not incompetent, he's just a shit. Yeah, there are lots of people that could be described with that. I do very often try to put myself in, like, the character's shoes. Yeah, it's very... And it shows. It shows here. I can tell that there's a very subtle distinction. If you've read a lot of fantasy, you can sometimes tell when the author is trying to be a character and when a character is on the page. You understand? Like, it's a difference, right? In voice acting, I can draw a parallel. For many voice actors, especially ones that are like beginners and don't have a lot of experience, or voice acting laymen, like outside of the industry looking into the industry, a lot of people think that voice acting is just pretending to be another voice. And if people like that who have that belief, they come into the industry, when you listen to them, it sounds very much like, oh, this is you pretending to be this. That's not what voice acting is. Voice acting is the thing you're trying to be. Like, that is what you're supposed to do. So instead of you putting on a funny voice, but it sounds like you still, whether it sounds like you or not is immaterial. It's got to be a good performance. The acting part is what is important, not the quality of your voice. When I write my characters here, my thought process often goes, what do they pick up on? How do they act? What's their true face and outward face, etc.? Yeah, those are good questions to ask. Very good, very good. No, I like that a lot. I definitely like that a lot. There are a lot of actors who do that as well, yeah. Chris Pratt, I think that's a good example, yeah. I would say that Andy Serkis is an example of the other way. So an example of an actor who is so instantly recognizable, and yet he's so in the character that he's no longer himself anymore, is Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis does an amazing job with that. But there are a lot of other actors these days, not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it can be kind of cringe, is when they're just like, this person is just playing themselves. Like, they are the same in and out of character as well. Chris Hemsworth in Transformers 1 is so good. Really? Oh, sick. Okay. Yeah, I like Chris Hemsworth. I think he's a pretty interesting actor as well. Yeah. Then there's also, like, having certain goals with the characters in mind. Esmar and Zara, for example, I want to portray a, like, fully synced duo that complement each other's different rogue approaches. I have felt that. As I read your story, I definitely felt that Esmar and Zara are two halves of a whole. They complete each other. They complement each other. I think they have a really nice relationship. They very clearly care for each other. And I love that where one of them slips a little bit, the other one's like, I got you. And then vice versa as well. I think that's really awesome. Yeah, so you've definitely brought that across. Esmar is more your traditional stealthy rogue, Zara is the more disguised rogue, but their ways of work provide different avenues and different leads. Yeah, and I love that Esmar and Zara both achieved success in one way or another, which I think is really, really cool. I like that a lot. Andy Serkis is one of the best actors of our time in front of the camera and in the booth. Yeah, I agree. I think he's awesome. The only time I could tell it was him was when he was doing this super deep voice that was probably difficult to not use his natural voice. Oh, really? That's interesting. Very, very cool. Okay. And that brings us from Carnival of Intrigue to whatever we're doing next. What are we doing next, Alpherg? Are you done? Are you ready to present?
I'm caught up to where I was before now, so yes.
Oh, so shall we read?
If that's what you would like to do.
I would like to. Since you've been preparing for this moment, it would be a shame for me to go, well, that's the end of the stream now, so I'm going to scroll up and find it. Okay, all I need to look for is the obnoxiously titled writing that doesn't have a real title yet. And that's it. So, have you changed anything based on what we've already read?
No.
Okay, so everything we've read has been fine.
I have so much of the future of this planned that I can't not try to push towards it.
Okay, so we've done the bandit fight. Where we last left off, there was a bandit fight. They were still traveling somewhere. Holt wanted to go back home to look after his father? Question mark?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Mother.
Okay, he's there to look after his mom. Okay, cool. Okay, and I think there was... Yeah, he stared at the thing, and then he was awakened by the offer to stopping. I'll get the tent set up. Did we do this stuff? Oh, you've changed this. Because it was like Loki was a certain type of elf, and therefore they had no problem falling asleep. That was what we were... Yeah, so this is new. This stuff is new. Okay, so they've killed some bandits, and then they've arrived at the camp. We're going to start here with this. Okay, sick. When I read this, what are you looking for? What kind of discussion are you interested in?
That's a great question that I don't have an answer to for some reason.
Well, in the absence of an answer, I will just do general impressions, and if something pulls me out that's more detailed, I will get into it. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Let me find some different music. What different music shall we go for? Maybe...
What's on the private playlist with you and Haewan? It's to reference the sneak preview from earlier.
Yes. Are we about to read erotica? Do we need to prepare people? I don't know how I feel about reading your own smut back to you. You should probably pay me for that.
Ash gets it for free?
Fair. True. That's true. Oh, that's very true. Ash pays me in other ways. Anyway.
I thought she liked girls.
Exactly.
Do you have something to tell us?
I have a secret. I've got a secret. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna see what we can do about this. This is by Alpherg, and we've just stopped for camp. Halt was awoken by the feeling of the off-roader stopping. It shocked him that it was already dusk. Oh, you're awake. I found a spot to camp for the night. Want me to heat up some of that soup? Halt nodded. Alright, I'll get the fire started. You get the tent set up. He nodded again, his brain still waking up. Shaking his head, Holt got out of the off-roader and looked around where they were. A small clearing, just big enough for the vehicle. 2 one-person tents and a fire. Good hyphen work. Nice. He got to work setting up the tents. It was a bit difficult for Holt, but he managed to finish just as Loki was pouring soup into a bowl. Hey, soup is hot, make sure to blow on it, they said, as Holt took the bowl from them. They watched as he immediately put a spoonful in his mouth. Loki sighed. Every time. Holt's eyes rolled as he blew a magically cold breath over the steaming soup. Oh, that's convenient. Fucking prestidigitation ass. It was a calm night as the travelers ate back to back next to the fire. Loki eyed a small source of heat with their infrared vision, quickly identifying it as a smowl. A smowl? Cool. Is that a small owl? Their pit viper lineage always made being lookout a breeze. The gaps between the bird's metal feathers glowed orange, as it spread its wings. With a single flap, it took off, leaving a smoke trail to follow into the distance. That's a great bit of world building. It's super cool. Holt rested his head back against Loki's so he could look up at the stars. Loki smiled. They knew Holt was trying to find what few constellations he knew. A slight chuckle escaped their lips, as those constellations aren't in this hemisphere. They've spent a few nights like this on job trips. They've crossed hemispheres? Jesus.
No.
How long have they traveled before?
No. Holt, I guess I should probably clarify. Holt is a dumbass. The constellations he knows.
I get it. Sorry, I thought he knew them because he'd looked up at them before, but he's actually just dumb. Okay, cool. Okay, got it. All right. I know he's an ice mage. I know. I think it's just great. I think prestidigitation is a super convenient spell, and I would use it all the time if I had it in real life. Anyway, a slight chuckle escaped their lips.
Always picked.
Yeah, absolutely. As those constellations aren't in this hemisphere. They've spent a few nights like this on job trips. Being close like this was sometimes the only way they got through the night. You motherfucker, you teased me for nothing. They're looking up at stars. They're not fucking, alright? You sneaky bitch. That's what you've done. The assassin's life hasn't treated them well. They frowned, remembering what happened in the morning. They slid their spoon out from their mask and set it in their empty bowl, clinking their spoon louder than normal. Halt. Do you want to talk about what happened earlier? They heard Holt clink. Hold on. There we go. They heard Holt clink his spoon to show discomfort with the question. You don't have to. I just wonder what's really going through your head when you look at it. It's the only time I can't tell what you're thinking, and it scares me. They became sad when the weight of Holt's head disappeared from theirs. Oh, I like that kind of... the lift. Oh, it's so cool. Holt stared into his half-empty bowl. He didn't like seeing food still in his bowl. Bowl and bowl. Say it instead. Sounds like that question from earlier was serious. His lips tightened as he stood. It's difficult, Loki. They're like the masks, shifting and twisting. Sometimes it's easier to deal with them when looking at something similar. Loki stood, turning to stare at Holt, putting his leftover soup away. Deal with them? Holt. Bundling them into that mask isn't healthy. I wish you'd be more open about those feelings. It doesn't have to be with me, but please, find someone to talk with. Holt's emotion tightened his throat, putting him on the verge of tears. Not right now. It's all a little much right now. He slowly sets the soup back into his bag. Tense! I'll take the first watch. You must be tired after driving all day. The fire crackled loudly as it ate away a damp log. Okay, was the only thing Loki decided to respond with. They got into their tent and wiggled into their bedroll. The snap and pop of the fire brought their drifting mind through memories. Memories Loki wished they could forget. Holt could hear them shift in their sleep as they relived the nightmares of jobs gone wrong. Loki woke up to sunlight seeping through their tent. The sound of the fire confused them. They looked through the flap. Holt was still tending it. He stared into the shifting mass of the flames. They sighed. "Morning," Holt greeted Loki without looking up. "Sorry, the night sky was a little too beautiful. I didn't want to give it up." "Morning," Loki said, getting next to the fire. "That's all right. Plenty of beautiful things to see in my dreams." They both knew they'd lied to each other. It was always important to know when the other was lying. The lies became a sort of code for them. It was important to them to know when the other was lying. Have you repeated the same sentence again? Yes, you have. Okay. The plan never makes it past first contact with the enemy, after all.
Oops.
Loki checked their phone for the time. "We need to go. We're already going to be late as it is." "Why did you let me sleep so long?" They shot up and began to tear the tents down. Put out the fire, get the off-roader started. The tents seemed to fold themselves in Loki's hands. The wood that had fueled the fire became encased in ice as Holt waved a hand in its direction. Loki pushed Holt back to the passenger seat after he started it. They signaled for him to sleep again. Holt knew that they were right and turned slightly, letting the bouncing terrain lull him to sleep. The smells of the Ashafreyan capital woke Holt. The familiar. Is it distracting?
You're not the only one.
Oh, you're being distracted. Very funny. All right. So, there are two moments here that I want you to explain to me. The first one is here. Did you write these back to back? Like, how much time separated before you finished this paragraph? Because you did write, like, literally the same sentence again, almost in a row.
That was one of the ones that I was having trouble with. I was trying to figure out how to word it.
Okay, cool. The plan, but then the thing I want you to explain to me is the plan never makes past first contact with the enemy. This is a good saying, but why are you connecting it here? What is its purpose being here? Can you explain, like, your thought process here? How does it connect to them lying to each other? What plan are they talking about?
I should clarify that. Basically, if a job goes south and they have to start lying to each other to hold some kind of cover.
Oh, okay. That's a cool thing to expand on. So I think instead of this repeated sentence, in place of that, you can go on about how, maybe for a couple of sentences, about how when they've worked together in the past, they've established this kind of code of lying when jobs go wrong, that they know they'll always have the same false story to cover for each other. And then you can have the plan never makes it past first contact with the enemy after all. So, like, the lies, you can then explain how, like, the lies then became a necessity because the plan never makes it past first contact with the enemy, etc. So that's a way that you could connect that there. It's 4:34 a.m. Goodbye, Raine. Mimir. Have a good sleep. Sweet dreams. Alright, also, I was very disappointed by the lack of smut. And I hate how you baited me into believing that it would be there. But here we are. And the other thing that I wanted explanation for was... Some kind of... There was dialogue. There was dialogue. There was dialogue. There was dialogue.
There's a lot of dialogue.
No. It's good. I'm just looking for the specific one that I'm looking for. Yeah. So, oh, yeah. Do you want to talk about what happened earlier? You don't have to. I just wonder what's really good when you look at it, because it's been a while. I don't know if this is because it's been a while or because it's not clear enough. It might have been because I haven't read it in a long time. But when you say it took me a really long time to figure out that he was talking about the dagger. So,
no.
It might have been just because it's been a while, because he literally was just looking at it, like a couple of paragraphs ago. Oh, it was the mask. Okay, cool. Then it might have been you as well. But still, I think if it's been a couple of paragraphs, sometimes making it clearer is a good idea.
It's also been a whole day, so it makes sense that they would say the mask.
Yeah, always think about it within the character's perspective as well. Like they wouldn't be talking about it, because for us it's only been a few paragraphs, but for them it's been, like you said, it's been a whole day. So the question earlier serious. Sounds like the question from earlier was serious. What question from earlier? Which question were they asking about?
When Loki jokingly asked if Holt wanted to be their boyfriend.
Oh. Okay. For me that was a bit of a reach. Like I didn't make that connection at all. Especially again because so maybe make some sort of reference to the fact that that's what you're talking about. So either with the character himself or maybe Loki's reaction to it. Like maybe Loki reacts like a small blush under the mask at, the fact that he'd asked, etc. Takes a while to think about it. You don't have to fix it right now, but yeah. And then when you say like they're like the masks shifting and twisting, you're talking about feelings, right? Or his thoughts?
Ooh, that is an artifact from previous dialogue.
Okay, yes. Cool. Because with no subject is also a little confusing. What is he? Okay, so then instead say here, my feelings ... They're like masks shifting and twisting, etc., etc. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to deal with them when looking at something similar, which would be something similar implies that you're going to do something different from both his feelings and the masks, which I would say maybe be a little bit more clear about the fact that you're dealing with the masks. So sometimes it's easier to deal with them. Oh, yeah, it's like... Sometimes it's easier to deal with them when looking at... Oh. Okay, no. Actually, now that I'm reading the full sentence, it makes more sense. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, reading the full sentence in context, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. Yeah, those were all the confusions that I had, and regardless of that, aside from that, rather, I think one of my best things was the dialogue. I think dialogue diversity was really good. I definitely felt when each character was talking. I feel like Holt has more... It might be just my reading interpretation of them, but I feel like Loki is usually calmer, and I feel like Holt is more animated a lot of the time. He feels more, maybe younger emotionally, and Loki feels a little bit more centered, a little bit more peaceful, almost. Or maybe the mask covers it up. But that's the kind of vibe that I got from both of them. So if you were intending to give me that vibe, then you are successful. And yeah, I definitely felt that there was a slight difference between the things they were saying, which I thought was really good. You're definitely developing the separation of dialogue with different characters, which is really awesome. Real-time edits. Yeah. Gay is in. Gay is hot. I want some gay. Gay it's gonna be. Alex, are you good? What's going on? Also, hi, Taters. Woke up just enough to plug an ad. And are you going back to sleep? Yeah, I thought the dialogue was really good. And I don't know. I like that the scene definitely develops their relationship for us. It indicates to us how they behave around each other. It also tells us that they're very comfortable around each other, but not comfortable enough for Holt to share feelings. And that there's, I think the part about lies is really interesting. It adds an element of complexity to their relationship that reminds me of, I mean, I'm recently watching Breaking Bad. It reminds me of Walter and Skyler's relationship, where probably not as fucked up as theirs, but like Walter and Skyler's relationship is like, you know, also built on lies. So it's interesting that adding lies as an element of complexity to a relationship is very interesting because it adds this kind of layer of sadness to it. It adds this layer of like, I'm not 100% comfortable being fully open with you. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting, which is cool. Yeah, it's adding really interesting emotional layers to it. Yeah, I think it was really good. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else that is worth me talking about. I think I've done everything that I needed to, but a nice little final read for a young reading stream. So thank you, Alpherg, for getting it done until then. I appreciate your punctuality. And
I always try and think it's on time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, how's your D&D character going?
Yes.
Is it done? Because it is Friday, and you
No.
did say that you would be done by Friday. There was a deadline.
I'm
just saying, leave it to the deadline, Alpherg.
I want picked up. I got the stuff I want picked out done. I just have to get stuff on the character sheet.
Do you want me to help you? Because I can guide you through it if you like.
Yes, please, because there's a couple of things that I just straight up don't know how to do.
All right, let's do it together now that the stream is finished. I can definitely help you with that. All right. Then for now, we'll say goodbye. It's not an ad, it's an invite. It's different. Yeah, but when you word it like an ad, that's why we tease you that it's an ad. You're like, you might be entitled to financial compensation by joining the Everything GM's Discord. Oh. Go watch all 6 seasons of What We Do in the Shadows. Damn your eyes. I don't know, dude. I've seen some. I thought What We Do in the Shadows was a movie. I saw the movie, not the
They just quietly released a series that was fairly popular.
Really interesting. I know you're inviting, Taters. I know. I'm teasing you about ads, but if you feel sensitive about it, I will stop. I don't mind. I think it's nice that I have someone who is as dedicated as you are to spreading the word. I wish that more people spread the word about this little community that we have so that we could have more friends. I always need more friends. And on that note, friends that are already here, I shall love and leave you, and we shall say goodbye. Alpherg, go away. I will come and help you with the character sheet in a second. Goodbye. Excellent. Right, everyone. What a lovely time it has been. Thank you all so much for being here. No matter how you've engaged with this content, if you're on the VOD, if you've been in chat, if you've been lurking, it's been lovely to have you here. Thanks for having another cool writing stream with us. Again, had a great time. And I hope that you continue to have a good day. If you don't have a good day, then that's okay. You don't always have to have a great day. Sometimes we have bad days to make the good days feel better. That's really a lot of their purpose. But for now, at least, stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, be kinder to yourself than you're currently being. And I'll see you in the next stream in about 10 hours where we play VR. I don't know what I'm going to play, but I'm going to play VR. So that's what it's going to be. Take care, everyone.